Why are you not wealthy yet? Think about that question for a moment. Why you? Why are there people with less education than you, less experience than you, sometimes even less intelligence than you, who still end up building far more wealth? Why do some people seem to move forward financially every single year, while others stay stuck in the exact same place for years? Why do some people seem to notice opportunities everywhere, while others feel like opportunities never show up? And here's something even more interesting. Have you ever noticed that some people seem to expect success while others almost expect things to go wrong? One person sees a challenge and moves toward it. Another person sees the same challenge and steps back. One person tries. Another person waits. From the outside, it often looks like luck. It looks like certain people just happen to be in the right place at the right time. But what if luck isn't the real explanation? What if the real difference between people who build wealth and people who struggle financially starts somewhere else entirely? Because before wealth ever appears in your bank account, it first appears in the way you think. And if your thinking is programmed the wrong way, you can work harder every year and still never break through. So the real question is this: is your mind programmed to create wealth or programmed to keep you exactly where you are? Most people believe wealth is mainly about effort. Work harder, work longer hours, earn more money, save more money, look for better opportunities. On the surface, that seems logical. If you work harder than everyone else, you should eventually move ahead, and effort certainly matters. But there is a hidden problem with the way most people approach success. They focus entirely on changing their results, while never questioning the thinking that produces those results. Imagine a computer running the wrong program. You could press the keyboard harder. You could type faster. You could spend more hours using it. But if the program itself is wrong, the output will still be wrong. This is exactly what happens with money. Long before someone earns their first paycheck, their mind is already forming beliefs about wealth. Those beliefs usually come from the environment they grew up in, from parents, from teachers, from friends, from what people around them say about money. You hear things like, money is hard to make. You have to struggle your entire life. Rich people are greedy. People like us don't become wealthy. At first, these statements may seem harmless, but when they are repeated over many years, they slowly become beliefs, and beliefs shape perception. If someone believes money is scarce, they approach opportunities cautiously. If someone believes success is rare, they hesitate when chances appear. If someone believes wealth is for other people, they unconsciously avoid situations where wealth could be created. This is why two people can see the exact same opportunity and react completely differently. One person thinks, that probably won't work. Another thinks, that could be interesting. How could I try that? One moves toward the opportunity. One moves away from it. At first, that difference seems small, but over time, it becomes massive, because every year presents hundreds of decisions. What you learn, what risks you take, what ideas you explore, who you speak to, what you attempt. Those decisions slowly shape your future, and the program running in your mind is quietly influencing those decisions every single day. The people who consistently build wealth understand something powerful. Your mind is programmable, not in a mystical way, not in a complicated psychological theory. In a very practical way, your brain constantly adapts to repetition. The thoughts you think most often become easier to think again. The actions you repeat become easier to perform again, and the beliefs you reinforce slowly become automatic. This is the same process that creates habits, but beliefs follow the exact same pattern. If someone constantly repeats thoughts like, I'm bad with money, I'm not the type of person who builds businesses, I could never do something like that, those thoughts begin strengthening certain mental pathways in the brain. Over time, those pathways become the default response. When an opportunity appears, the brain doesn't explore it. It shuts it down automatically. The thought appears instantly. That's not for me. That's too risky. That probably won't work. But something very different happens when someone begins repeating new ideas. When someone starts thinking, I can learn this, I'll figure it out, there must be a way. New mental pathways begin forming. Now the brain begins scanning the environment differently. Instead of immediately rejecting ideas, it starts exploring them. Instead of focusing on obstacles, it starts searching for solutions. This is the real meaning behind what people call a wealth mindset. It isn't pretending everything will work. It isn't ignoring risks. It's training your mind to respond to challenges with curiosity instead of fear. And when someone thinks this way, their behavior naturally changes. They try more ideas. They learn more skills. They meet more people. They ask more questions. They stay in the game longer. And staying in the game longer dramatically increases the chance of success, because wealth rarely appears from one perfect decision. Most successful people didn't get everything right the first time. They tried things that didn't work. They started projects that failed. They made mistakes. But instead of stopping, they adjusted. They improved. They tried again. Over time, those repeated attempts compound. Small improvements turn into large results. Skills grow stronger. Networks expand. Confidence increases. Opportunities multiply. Eventually, something begins to work. From the outside, it looks like sudden success. But behind that moment are usually years of experimentation, learning, and persistence. And it all begins with thinking. You can see this difference everywhere once you start paying attention. Take something simple like starting a project. Two people have the same idea. One person immediately thinks about everything that could go wrong. What if it fails? What if people laugh at me? What if I lose money? Because their focus is on risk, they delay action. They wait until the timing feels perfect. They wait until they feel confident. They wait until they have more information. But that moment rarely comes. So, the idea never moves forward. Now look at someone else in the exact same situation. They also see risks. They also feel uncertainty. But their thinking sounds different. How could I test this? What would be the smallest way to start? What could I learn from trying? That small difference leads to action. Instead of waiting for certainty, they experiment. They start small. They try a simple version of the idea. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But either way, they learn something valuable. Then they adjust. Then they try again. Each attempt improves their understanding. Over time, those experiments create breakthroughs. This pattern shows up constantly in business. Two people start a business idea. Both experience slow growth in the beginning. One person thinks, this isn't working. I knew this was a bad idea. They lose motivation. They stop marketing. They stop experimenting. The business quietly fades away. The other person thinks, something isn't working yet. What needs improving? How can I reach more people? They adjust the product. They improve the message. They test new strategies. Eventually, something starts gaining traction. Customers appear. Revenue grows. Momentum builds. From the outside, it looks like they got lucky. But luck wasn't the real reason. They simply stayed in the game longer. And staying in the game created more opportunities for success. This pattern appears in careers too. One person waits for permission. They wait for someone to give them an opportunity. Another person creates opportunities. They learn new skills. They solve problems. They become valuable. Over time, those behaviors lead to promotions, businesses, investments, and opportunities. The difference rarely begins with talent. It begins with interpretation. One mind sees obstacles. The other sees problems to solve. One mind sees risk. The other sees possibility. And that difference slowly compounds over years. If your mind can be programmed, the next question becomes obvious. How do you start programming it for wealth? The first step is awareness. Start paying attention to the automatic thoughts you have about money, success, and opportunity. When an idea appears, what is the first thought in your mind? Do you instantly look for reasons why it won't work? Or do you feel curious about how it might work? Most people never question these thoughts. They assume their thoughts are accurate. but many of them are simply old beliefs repeating themselves. Once you notice them, you gain the power to challenge them. The second step is changing the questions you ask yourself. Instead of shutting ideas down immediately, train your mind to explore them. Instead of thinking, "That won't work," ask yourself, "How could this work?" Instead of saying, "I'm not good at business," ask, "What would I need to learn to become good at this?" These small shifts change how your brain approaches challenges. Instead of closing the door, your brain begins searching for solutions. The third step is exposure. Your environment strongly influences how you think. If the people around you constantly talk about limitations, struggle, and scarcity, that mindset slowly becomes normal. But when you expose your mind to ideas about growth, opportunity, and wealth, something changes. You begin seeing possibilities you never noticed before. Books, podcasts, learning from people who think bigger. These influences slowly reshape what your mind believes is possible. And the final step is action. Not huge risks, small experiments. Start something. Learn something. Test an idea. Each action sends a signal to your brain. I am someone who moves forward. And the more evidence your brain sees, the stronger the new program becomes. Most people spend years trying to change their financial situation. They look for better jobs, better strategies, better opportunities. But very few people start with the place where real change begins. They're thinking, because your life tends to move in the direction your mind believes is possible. If your thinking is trained to see limits, you will see limits everywhere. If your thinking is trained to look for opportunity, opportunities become easier to notice. That single shift can quietly change the direction of your life. Wealth rarely appears overnight. It grows through hundreds of small decisions. Decisions to learn, decisions to try, decisions to keep moving forward even when progress feels slow. And those decisions always begin in the same place, inside your mind. So the real question isn't just how to build wealth. The real question is this: what kind of thinking are you training every single day? Because the way you train your mind today will shape the opportunities you notice tomorrow. And the opportunities you notice tomorrow can completely change the future you experience.